And so I guess the biggest takeaway that under the right conditions, hosting forced migrants can benefit the host society, particularly in the long run, I believe would apply. Now, I should be careful here in that I'm dealing with, very particular case of forced migration in history. And the biggest difference here is that the population that were recruited enjoyed full citizenship rights in the states where they arrived. And so when we think about migration today, particularly the arrival of forced migrants in Europe, including from the Middle East and from Ukraine, these individuals do not automatically get citizenship rights, which has some implications for the generalizability of my argument, right? So when I talk about the demand for state presence, we can imagine that refugees who cannot vote or who could be seen as temporary presence in their new societies, these people have greater barriers for making claims on the state, and the state might be less likely to invest in these populations because, again, it sees them as temporary. Also, a lot of the time, refugees are excluded from participation in the formal labor market, which affects their ability to sustain themselves and to contribute to the local economy. And so, to the extent that some of the current refugees are limited in that regard, this could absolutely affect the generalizability of some of the positive consequences of forced migration from my book. But I will still say that there's a lot of relevance from the general logic of the argument to current refugee cases. And so one question that I think could be heard is this importance of cultural similarity, right? So one of the key concerns about refugees in today's Europe is the impact on culture and way of life there. And so we saw this striking difference in the treatment of Syrian and Ukrainian refugees in particular. Even though Ukrainian refugees were far more numerous, they received much better reception. They received more rights in their new places of residence. And so what my book would say, what I would say in light of my experience in studying these historical cases, is that the preoccupation with refugees' culture is misguided. And the real issue is actually economic competition, which is affected by state policy and might be dependent on resource scarcity rather than actual cultural distance between different population groups.